Now, after the introduction of LFG and Endorsements, is solo queue unplayable in Overwatch? Naturally, the question as to whether or not you enjoy playing in that kind of an environment is very subjective. There are very valid reasons for somebody not wanting to participate in LFG supported groups, while others claim it is now the only right way to play the game. In today's video, I want to take a look at this very question, but from a few different angles. Because you see, whenever I talk specifically about ranked, the quick players get upset with me for not including their point of view. And whenever I talk about quick play, the ranked players get mad at me, claiming that the quick play point of view doesn't matter. Well, as I do acknowledge that both of these sides bring valuable arguments to the discussion, I want to make sure I do both of them justice today. But since I do spend a lot of time on the channel talking about competitive play specific issues, I think it makes sense to start here, even though quick play is infinitely more popular relative to the entirety of our player base. So, is solo queue unplayable on ladder now in Season 11? To be honest, the question I'd want to ask you is, was it ever? The perceived playability of ranked play often stands relative to the current balance patch that we play in. That's to say, if the meta is very stale or unexpectedly broken, then that often has a direct effect on how we perceive solo queue to be. When a new hero is introduced, more often than not, it feels like players get to an unfairly high rank on the back of that character, while lacking overall understanding of how the game is supposed to be played at a higher level, let alone bringing the skill necessary to perform on any other hero. The same thing can be said for cases where heroes are majorly overhauled or changed from the ground up. Players who have been in a rating they are comfortable with for a long time feel treated unfairly when somebody suddenly manages to jump multiple divisions on something that is largely considered unbalanced or outright broken. In our current situation, the allegation that players rank up rapidly on the back of Hanzo and Brigitte has been running rampant, and that, more than a lack of LFG, would make them feel like solo queue is unbearable. Now, if we isolate any case relating to things that have been a problem since the inception of Overwatch, including balance complaints, then our focus can swiftly shift to the introduction of LFG and endorsements. And this is where we have been getting mixed responses on how these features affect solo queue. For example, some players are annoyed at the fact that people are nice to others in a fake fashion just to get a higher endorsement level. But on the contrary, fake niceness, at least in my opinion, is still better than outright toxicity. It's not about getting people to start being nice, but more about getting them to stop being annoying, toxic little shitbags for the sake of it. Was I to judge the current situation, I'd say that players are largely enjoying the new endorsement feature, whether they just like the fact that there are less annoying individuals in their matches, or they have fun participating in the meme that is begging for endorsements. In large, it very much feels like the overall mood on ladder has been lifted. In my experience, players don't get toxic anywhere near as often anymore, and are more likely to hold light-hearted conversations for the sake of it. Of course, your individual experience may vary, but judging by forum posts and comments, it seems like endorsements have an overall positive effect on the game, including solo queue. Unfortunately, I can't say the same thing about quick play. While this may be an EU-specific issue with the added downside of quick play not having any urgency to use microphones, it really doesn't feel any different. Everyone mostly does their own thing, nobody really talks, and yeah, I mean, it's quick play in solo queue, you know what you sign up for. When it comes to LFG, a very different story unfolds. I dare argue that there are only very few, very specific reasons for why you would not want to use this feature when playing casually. Because you see, the biggest problem that quick play really had was the fact that you had many different players participate in the same game mode who were looking for an inherently different experience. You got people who just want to warm up for competitive play. You got people who just want to meme around. And you also get people who would like to play real Overwatch because they don't enjoy the anxiety-inducing nature of ranked play. For me, even when I play heroes that are not in my main roster, I always want to try my best to win the game, because that in the grand scheme of things is the point of it. So having these mixed groups of people who do and don't care make Overwatch feel random in a way that on occasion makes it impossible for you to even play the game in the first place. Something I have in part covered in my video titled Why Losing in Overwatch Sucks, where I compare losing in Overwatch versus losing in other games I've played, and why it is particularly infuriating in our favorite hero shooter. Card can be found in the top right corner if you are interested. At any rate, LFG helps to solve this very issue, because you can set up a lobby to find players who are looking for the same kind of gameplay experience as you. And that is what I have done. I wanted to find people who tried to win in quick play rather than memeing around, and filling my group never took more than a minute and a half. The gameplay experience itself was also much improved compared to just going solo, which yes, I have also done past the release of LFG. Honestly, especially with the experience of LFG in mind, even though solo queue quick play is the same hot mess it always was, it feels even worse considering I know there's a better alternative now. There are a couple of reasons I can think of why you wouldn't want to take advantage of it though. For example, you might only want to play a few games and it could feel awkward to leave a 6-stack after just a short period of having played together. In which case, yeah, I get it, I wouldn't bother LFGing either if I only wanted to play a game or two. But of course, the optimal scenario here is to make new friends you play with on a regular. The witty among you might have realized too that most of the gameplay in the background of my videos features the same people most of the time. And that's because there's no better gameplay experience than playing with your friends. So that is definitely something I suggest you do whenever you can. But to loop back around to competitive play, it feels like the tables have turned a bit. On my Platinum account where I play mostly DPS, obviously I try to play with my usual 6-stack as often as possible so we get better as a team. But whenever people were not available, we did try to fill a group with LFG and well, there are a few things you have to consider if you want it to be a better experience than solo queue. For one, obviously LFG does not distinguish between main tanks and off tanks in the same way it doesn't distinguish main from off supports, at least at the time of making this video. But as every competitive player should be aware of, those are some pretty massive differences. So you want to make sure you ask the people who join which heroes they want to play before queuing up. Most people who use LFG should be understanding of the fact that they might not be the player your group needs, and they would probably rather look for a new group where they can play their main over having to swap to something they don't enjoy playing. So make sure you talk to your teammates before queuing up, because if you don't, it's gonna be the same kind of mess you get in solo queue. Though I have to admit, I'm playing a bit of a different song when it comes to high elo gameplay. Of course, high is relative and changes depending on who you ask, but for the sake of simplicity, let's agree that anything upwards of Masters is considered high elo, in the sense that there are so few players up there that you actually come across the same faces very regularly. You see, while I have been learning DPS heroes from the ground up in the coordinated environment of my 6-stack, when it comes to my main heroes, my playstyle varies greatly, and that is something you have to consider. Solo queue playstyles do not always work in 6-stacks. While I have no problem incorporating myself into an LFG group on my Platinum account, I could not do the same thing on my Masters account. Again, high elo Omega lol. I haven't been in GM or even played on this account in ages, so I'm pretty washed up. But fact of the matter is that I have always played Zenyatta in solo queue. Not only do I not trust myself playing him properly in a coordinated environment, I also don't know that I'd be comfortable with it either. It's just what I have been doing for most of my time playing this game. And the very real problem of matchmaking hiccups in Masters Plus becomes extremely apparent when you play in stacks as well. At least in my experience. Since there are only so few people up in high rankings, you can end up in really weird matches where the game fills diamonds into your borderline GM matches because it tries to average the SR out somehow. And within my circle of friends, they share that kind of mentality. Grouping up, as of now, has a really bad reputation in high ranks. Even more so when you surpass Masters and get into GM. Not only is it frowned upon to play in stacks and Grandmaster, most players also don't want to deal with even more matchmaking hiccups than they already are. So, my verdict here is that solo queue is only as unplayable as you want it to be. It depends on what kind of person you are. If you want to play real Overwatch in quick play, using LFG is probably your best bet. If you want to improve your competitive experience by using LFG, there are a few things you should keep in mind to make sure everyone can play heroes they are good at, otherwise it's no different than solo queue. And the higher in rankings you get, or the more of a solo queue player you are, the more you have to ask yourself if using LFG is a good idea for you specifically. That's something I can't answer for you definitively, but obviously everything I talked about today largely hinges on my own experience, the experience of my friends, and things I have seen on live streams, read in forums, and comment sections, and so on. When it comes to the issues players perceive to exist on the basis of career profiles now being hidden, I'm not gonna sit here pretending I understand why it bugs people so much. I dedicated an entire video's worth of ranting to that subject, and I don't see myself ever agreeing that it is as much of a big deal as people make it out to be. But why don't you tell us how you feel about it? Do you think LFG is the be-all and end-all, or do you still prefer going solo? I'd be curious to see what you guys think down in the comment section below. But until then, this is me done for the day as I talk about whether or not solo queue is unplayable after the introduction of LFG. Thank you everybody so much for watching. Don't forget to drop me a like on your way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and maybe share this video with a friend you think will find it interesting. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you all next time.